Hello, once again. My name is Steve Jaguar.
And I'm his co-host, Mike Foster.
Welcome once again to our show, a visual newsletter for your impatient world with all the curated content from the past week about all things Kubernetes, cloud native security, big spenders, weird stuff that just makes you go, what? And of course, a little bit of a tool time.
Yeah, we have a great list of things that we're talking about. For the tool time, Steve's taking the lead on this one. We're going to be talking Ranche desktop. Big CVE that just came out. Just kidding. I notified you way too early. And we're going to talk about why k8s is so complex and just human nature in general. So welcome to the show. Thanks for joining. Hope you're having a good week. Oh yeah, and some funny memes mixed in there too, which kind of fun.
I put on our LinkedIn post, said this is going to be a weird one.
That is exactly right. And if you're watching, all the links are in the YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, give us a comment. Let us know what other funny videos we're missing. There's a bunch out there. So
yeah, we do enjoy getting a good bit of meme content.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough, I would say.
Yeah, we could mix it in. Steve, you got anything going on this week?
I got too much stuff going on. So what do I have? I'm preparing for, there's a conference in the States called Developer Week. It kind of starts now. It's like a whole bunch of, you know what people are doing these days, right? They're like Cloud Expo or whatever. And then you find out, oh, we're cohabitating with DevOps Weekly, Security Conference, a Big Data Adventure. And you're like, what? And everybody just like bangs them all together. So that's, there's something in the States. So my talk is at like 8 o'clock, or it's on the 9th next week.
Nice.
There you go. And it's, I'm taking you on a security adventure, starting with preventing deployments on Kubernetes, and then, getting output from admission controllers and going, what the hell do I do with this crap? And then working your way back to like, it's a demonstration of shift left, but a practical one.
Mm-hmm. Shift left. Ooh, buzzwords.
Yeah, I'm hitting the buzzwords.
Hitting them all.
How about yourself?
That's actually a good transition. Well, the big thing that we have coming up is, and we talked about Argo and their security, let's say, mishaps. So we have a little Stack Rocks office hours on the 15th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we're having Christian on, who's one of the maintainers for Argo, and talking security for it. So if
nice.
You want a little bit more in depth on that whole issue and some best practices and how not to use Argo to avoid these things, join. Be awesome.
Remind me, what's up? 4 p.m. Eastern?
4 p.m. Eastern. So 9 p.m. for you. Yeah, grab a beer, come and hang out.
Damn right. I'm going to do that. Cool.
Speaking of complexity, might as well get into the first thing. Let's get into some general news and talk k8s complexity.
that tune.
Great tune.
Kubernetes is complex because you want complex things. Whew. Cynical.
That hurts. That hurts. I feel it.
So there's the deal.
Yeah.
You know who that looks like?
Who?
That looks like Craig McLuckie, the guy who is in the Kubernetes documentary. He's one of the founders from Google of Kubernetes.
Yeah, you gotta send that to him.
That's a striking resemblance. I'm going to find out that is, right, or something. He does some show wearing tinfoil hats and balloons.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you stuck this in here. Was other than the title, anything grabbed you?
Yeah, it was a good take. The conversation we've had this multiple times. I think there's a difference between containers and Kubernetes. I think containers solved an issue with dependencies that a lot of people really like. And then different businesses are trying to figure out, how do we operationalize this? How do we scale it? How do we manage it? How do we network it? And that's really kind of what kicked off the container wars, right? I think the conversation was never about running containers. The conversation was, how do you operationalize them? And that is, let's say, one of the issues that came up when containers first started was people have older ideas of how to operationalize things, and the newer tools didn't exist yet. So, hey, we want to use containers, but we still have a virtual machine, let's say, mindset about how we manage things or different pipelines. And then as I find newer companies who get into the space, they're like, yeah, we're running containers, it's a no-brainer, but they adopt the newer tools and they have less of that technical debt. So it's a little bit of, there's complexity because we tried to shoehorn original thinking into containers. And if you were to start at the beginning and just adopt containers, I think there's less complexity.
Yeah. Interesting. Like kind of, I paused here because there was an article that we featured about a month or two back that had, don't use Kubernetes, and it had why, and it was along the lines of what you said. It was why throw a complicated solution at a simple problem, which actually is probably most people who are starting out. But Kubernetes is, most people are making the complexities of Kubernetes so easy that for most, that's actually easier than the VM solution.
Yeah. And if you scroll down, it talks about, admission controllers and all the network things that are associated with it.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And I think for the average person, that seems like a lot. But even if you're running virtual machines, like these are just what you're used to, just a different abstraction layer of it, right? So it's just learning how to. I
was laughing at this and listening to you now.
I think I fixed it, guys.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and really the big thing is troubleshooting, right? Because you're so used to, hey, here's how it gets networked. Operations going to take it over. It gets put into a virtual machine. That now maybe the layers of troubleshooting have changed. Maybe it's on the developer to troubleshoot specific things, and that whole thing, the conversations broke down. So it is a faster way if everybody understands the layers, but the layers themselves haven't changed, right? Just the abstractions and who's responsible with what has changed.
True. And my final cynical take is just on the title, is that complex things make for heroes. The people who are into Kubernetes from the beginning are now, the elite squad of those who understand all things of this now complex, if you come in late, thing.
Yeah.
That's why people like complex things. How are you going to geek out on an easy solution? Nope. Can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
if everybody can do it, I can't justify my job.
Exactly. Updated.
Very cynical take.
Very cynical. Yeah.
All
right. Next one. Actually, the last thing you said relates to a Reddit meme we're going to show later. So we'll wait for that. That's a different section entirely. Next one.
More money
bug bounties
for some bug bounties. Yeah.
So
this relates to another cynical take that we'll probably have later on in the WTF section.
Yes. the breaking news bit. Bug bounty giant HackerOne lands 49 million. Wait a second. I just saw the word boon. Is that meant to be boom? Sorry. That's, oh no, boon. What a weird word. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, it's a boon. All right, fine. But yeah, I just, this just blew my mind because of, wow. That's crazy.
Yep.
Like,
companies are actually
this should have gone into big
around.
This should have gone into big spender, honestly. But it just seemed like, what? This goes into all categories. This is the first time the article spans news, WTF, and big spender all in one. And I was just like, what the? I should have paid more attention in school or something.
I also wanted to hear it because it has to do with the CVE this week too, right? At least
yes,
the CVE, it's they're very closely related. So
yeah,
it's
all right.
Crazy that a company is actually getting paid to go after bug bounties because there's so much money now being invested in these.
Well, I think that's where my brain like imploded there.
Yeah,
49 million. All right, so you're assuming that this company, if they're going for bug bounties, is going to get a 10x return. Let's say 490 million. They're going to earn that in bug bounties. That's a lot of bugs.
I mean, they probably they must do other things too.
Yeah.
You can't have one source of income, I'm assuming.
I'm sure they do red teaming consultancies and all sorts of wonderful things like that. But
yeah,
they are known for that. But it just seems like, wow, that's cool. That's good. Everyone needs HackerOne to break their stuff before somebody else does.
There you go.
There it is. That's just a very impressive cross-sectional, amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have some good themes going on this week.
Yeah.
For example, this one.
Because we were talking about Docker Slim last week, and then we saw that SUSE unveiled their Rancher desktop for Kubernetes on your PC. And so
they're getting a lot of coverage.
You got to do this now.
Yeah, I'm going to show this later on. It's funny, how they say for your PC, when you say PC, you kind of think Windows before you think Mac, right? But there actually are things that work on the PC that don't work on the Mac yet. And I'm going to point that out a little later on in the show. But it's cool, right? This is beautifully timed because the thing that isn't in this show, and is just going to get a mention now, is that the timing on Docker Desktop, like they changed their licensing rules so that if you're part of a company, you have to pay for Docker Desktop rather than just have it everywhere for free. I mean, they have to make money somewhere, somehow. And that is in this same week. So this is timed. This is tactical. Like Rancher Desktop was around 0.5 was around like last September, but the 1.0 release,
the timing
that's very tactical timing to get that out.
And Docker actually just released that they had 55 million in ARR, so they're actually starting to make money too. Yeah, we'll see how much Rancher cuts into that. I'm not exactly sure what the play is there, but
cool. They might. That's it. Open source to the rescue again. Wow. All right, thanks, Rancher. We'll take a little bit more look at that in a few moments. What's the next thing on our list? Is this general news?
This is still general news. Yeah, a little bit of snake oil sales. Did you
read this?
Yeah, I did.
This made me laugh, man. This is we missed it last week, but it came in this week. UK. I apologize on behalf of the United Kingdom and our technology sector.
Beat me to the punch.
Doubts loom over tech firm DarkTrace's high octane sales strategy. I guess some of the questions here was, is it even a product? Do they say they even do their other customers real? Their stock is kind of crashing. It doesn't help that this guy is in charge. He's already fighting extradition to the United States for fraudulently inflating the value of a company before selling it for $8.4 billion to Hewlett Packard. So this is his track record, and people are now calling his current company, "Hey, this thing doesn't do anything. Are these customers real?"
Yeah,
that is funny, right?
Very funny. There's also
Uh,
a conversation about because they sold it. They had some pretty good researchers at the beginning, right? And a bunch of AI stories and
well, that's just it. Like we joke that we could just create a startup with a fancy page that ticks all the bingo card options, and
yeah.
somebody will give us a big whack of money. At some probably won't even have to prove it it's a product. Eventually,
No.
you have to prove it does something, particularly if you're actually public. Like,
It is one of the non-tech hot take here. It is one of the very interesting things about the market is as soon as there's some hot flashes, the market will tell you if a product's,
crap.
Yeah, like there's a little bit of hey, buy-in hype. Let's get to it very quickly. But I think the more there is interest in something, the more likely people are to try to pick it apart to short it too, right? So it's kind of those snake oil salesmen. You got to watch out at the beginning to make sure they're not hyping something up. But it's pretty interesting to see the rise and fall of a product that's overhyped, right? And that quickly, pretty.
It's like the WeWork of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Except they actually made it to IPO in advance, but
true. That's actually a good segue because it is a little crazy, but onto the even crazier stuff.
All right. This is a tweet that crossed my path. Okay, worst snake oil cybersecurity pitch you've ever had. Hold on. See previous article from DarkTrace. Actually, Twitter is rampant with people. I bet you DarkTrace is in this list. I didn't actually search, but worst snake oil. You know what? I hesitate to comment on this because, well, we both have worked for vendors who I know when I've seen some of the marketing, I've went, that's a little oily. It's a little reptilian.
I think it's different to say what the product can do versus what the product can do for like your company. I think that's I think where people get screwed up because I'm looking at some of these and it's like, we can replace your entire security team with this deep learning algorithm. Like, what? And also Joe Thompson had a really good comment. Our product can replace your entire team, and the one that's probably on the call ever worked. Right? Like, hey, by the way, here's your security team. Yeah, we're gonna replace all of you if you buy our product.
That's crazy. By the way, that's a okay. What?
Sorry. The fourth comment down, DarkTrace message ends.
Perfect. Why am I not seeing this? Show more replies.
You just got to keep going. Show more replies. It was Mike Thompson commented, but yeah, there's we can replace your entire team.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Unhackable. Hold my beer. Yeah, it's there it is. DarkTrace.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. That's already become an answer to jokes. I've had some it's funny. There's worth looking at. There's a lot of funny answers in there. There's a podcast I listen to that run by I remember his name, David Spark, out of the States, called I was on it once actually a year ago, called CISO Vendor Series. And in their early days, they used to just bring in vendor pitches and they'd read them and then they'd have to guess what the product was. Like they didn't know what the product was. They just see the pitch.
Okay.
And it was like AI driven endpoint cyber supply chain activation and observability. And like, what? It was awesome. Because it was nonsense.
Yeah. AI driven. Like
it was buzzword blockchain.
Like
then
network baselining. Like really all I'm doing is looking at what your connections typically are and then just saying, hey, this one is atypical. Watch out. AI driven.
AI powered at the speed of DevOps.
Yeah. All right. This is we get into the weird stuff. This is just a meme that we found.
This is to do with Kubernetes is complex.
Yeah.
And remember, friends, 6 hours of debugging can save you 5 minutes of reading documentation. Until the next one. So you showed me this yesterday, and I managed to sneak it into a meeting, and I like completely deadpan, just as if it was a legit thing. I've already managed to do that. I'm quite proud of myself.
What was the response in the meeting?
There was like one person just kept talking because they clearly weren't listening to me, and then a couple other people just kind of paused and processed for about 5 seconds before laughing and going, "Wait, what'd you say?" There you go. Be the life of the party with that one.
Yeah, too funny. And I came across this especially after basically working with New Vector last week. And if you missed that one, go check it out on YouTube. The New Vector demo, which was a ton of fun. And as I'm going through, you're on GitHub, you're doing the README. I'm like, change this in the YAML, what? And then you go to docs, and it's like copy and paste these 4 commands, and you're ready to go. Oh, okay, that was easy. So it wasn't quite 6 hours, but lesson learned. And I'll probably learn this lesson again in a month.
Yeah. All right. So do we have another WTF? Yeah, we do. Oh, these are great. Sorry, are you going to do this, or am I doing this? Did you do it?
I have the SUSE one up first, and I'll do that one while you get the next one, because we had 2 videos for you guys, which I thought was too funny. Let me get this one in. Hopefully this is loud enough.
Good morning, my eager young pupils. Today we're going to be learning about non-phonetic words. What are non-phonetic words, you ask? I'll tell you. Some words are funny creatures, not spelled like how they sound. Like bologna, Colonel, Wednesday. Sometimes they can confound. The next word can be tricky. Most people get it wrong. But I'll teach you how to say it by the end of this song.
It's pretty catchy.
It's SUSE, say SUSE. Don't let the name confuse ya. It starts with Sue and ends with sa. Now doesn't that amuse ya? It's SUSE, say
All right,
SUSE.
do we have to do the whole thing?
Might elude ya. It's S and U, then S and E.
Yeah, I think
We get the point.
yeah, you get the point. It was a good marketing thing.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
My reaction was, I saw it and thought, this is stupid. And then by the time we're like, the spelling might confuse you, I was like, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. The first time I watched it, I literally was like, what the WTF? What am I watching? And then I watched it again. It actually got sent to me twice. And this is an older ad, I think. It's been out for a while.
It's like 2019. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. April 3rd, 2019. And somehow it's making the rounds again. So I was like, hey, if you can get marketing shares, 2 years, 3 years after you post something, kind of catchy.
What was the, let me just check. What's the views on that? Because
50,000.
53,000. Like, SUSE must be going, I cannot believe this is our most popular video.
Yeah. Well, they do have their 21 recap, which they post, although that is kind of gaming the system on YouTube. That's a little BS. Like you can put it so that there's like a top video that always plays when people hit your page.
Yeah, right.
So you kind of get reoccurring views.
Yeah, it becomes your preview. Anyway. Or there's a word for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the preview, especially if you're not subscribed versus subscribed.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Next. So if you subscribe and then you click it again, it shows a different video. Nice. All right. Now we have one that's, it's been played a lot, right? This video you'll see all over the internet because it's a German video, I believe, from a very, I think it's a movie that was made in German.
It's a movie that was made in German, but it was made ages ago, and you can tell that it looks like it was filmed on a Handycam. But it's been memed over at least 5 times with different versions of subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is, CISO is briefed on Red Team engagement.
Die Front in breiter Formation zu besprechen. Im Süden hat der Gegner Zossen genommen und stößt auf Stahnsdorf vor. Der Feind operiert jetzt am nördlichen Stadtrand zwischen Frohnau und Pankow und im Osten ist der Feind bis zur Linie Lichtenberg, Karlshorst gelangt.
Mit dem Angriff Steiners wird das alles in Ordnung.
Mein Führer,
Steiner konnte nicht genügend Kräfte für einen Angriff massieren. Der Angriff Steiner ist nicht erfolgreich.
Okay. All right. But that's the link is in. Go. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. It's too long. How long is it? It's too long. Yeah.
It's too long.
That's pretty awesome for like a 2-minute clip, right? Like this one has 36,000 views, and it came out on the 27th, so recently. So somewhere, somehow, there must be like this clip with nothing over top of it, because it's like, which is just there to game and sit and spend the forever creating. Like the guy whose account this is on has 72 subscribers. I bet you that will change if this is his creation. So that's funny.
And the other thing too is, if you haven't seen the movie, obviously Hitler starts getting pissed off at his generals because he's about to lose, and he's like, "I'm going to take away your MacBooks and your widescreen monitors." It's funny because I don't know. I was just sitting there like, "Oh, that hits." The new MacBooks are gone too.
Jeder hat mich belogen, sogar die SS. Die gesamte Generalität ist nichts weiter als ein Haufen niederträchtiger, treuloser Feiglinge.
Mein Führer, ich kann nicht zulassen, dass die Soldaten, die für Sie verbringen...
Ihr seid Feiglinge! Verreiter, Verteidiger!
All right.
Yeah.
All right. It's funny.
Okay, now we do have a little bit of...
That was weird.
What?
My browser didn't play that.
What do you mean?
Oh no, I didn't see the video you just played. All right. We didn't do, this is it.
Yes, so it's a good lead, good segue, because we were talking about
breaking. So the GitHub repositories, let's get it on the screen. Oh, I've got, see, now I got caught by the share thing because I was sharing the tab. Now I don't have the screen.
And that's the annoying thing about going back and forth. But
yeah, damn you, me.
You can also just hit the share tab. Like when you go to a new tab, you could just update the tab.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I'm learning how StreamYard works. But there it is. We got there. GitHub introduces sponsor-only repositories. So this is February 2nd. And I got this across my path like last night, I guess it was. And I started going through it. And the intro talks about how GitHub introduced sponsorships. So you could make a direct financial contribution to open source developers. I'd like that. Love it, right? That's like that dude who destroyed the color repo and put all sorts of, basically maliciously destroyed his own because no one's paying him, right? And everybody was using it.
I think it had nothing to do with the payment. I thought it was like an internal dev issue. It's like the devs kicked him out and all that. But anyway.
Oh, I know. And anyway, sabotaged it. So, but here, this is very different. So in addition to sponsor-only repositories, GitHub is making minor changes. Where's the actual description of this? Because that's not it. There it is. Launching sponsor-only repositories as private repos that only sponsors get access to. And that says how it's in line with current trends, blah, blah, blah. And my skeptical brain turned like, boop, 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 started going. And I'm like, it's kind of both brilliant and sneaky.
Yep.
I kind of feel like, so I get to say, do I get to say that repo is open source? What if, hypothetical, StackRux became open source only to paid subscribers? So it's open source. What's that?
There's a few like basic rules to becoming open source. One is that it has to be ungated, but you actually don't have to show source code. You can just drop a tar link.
Yeah.
And as long as it's public and free to download, that is open source. If you gate it at all, so like if I just, hey, I have a container image with the code, but it's gated, that's not open source considered.
Open source.
It's like the bare minimum that you need. So, and I say this is like, you look at NewVector. NewVector did two things. Is one, they gave you the container image and they gave you the code. That's like the step up from the bare minimum that you need to do. You don't necessarily need to publish the code like that in a GitHub repository. So it's pretty nice of them to do that.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. But anyways,
I'm just curious about how this will be used, because something that's right here is like in the open source world, not really a thing. This is looked at as antithetical to its overall ethos, right? This is like not open source essentially. But then the GitHub says, "Oh no! Is it its idea here? The idea here is to give funders early access to projects as they're being built." I'm like, I don't know.
I think that's an interesting take. Like, let's say there is some open source code and a company wants to come in and say, "Hey, I want this, but I want it different with like a different maintainer group because I don't trust the original maintainers." Well, then what you do is you fork the code, private the repo. That company just here's like some money to get it done to start up this new source base, and then new code base, and then just go from there. Okay. And then eventually you make it public.
See, that I'm totally down with. That's a fine use of it, because your sponsors or your funders get to see what you're doing as you go along before they decide to go with it. It just to me seems like somebody somewhere is going to go, "Oh, this is great. I can charge subscriptions essentially to give people access to the source code as well." But I mean, it also could be like when you have source core and everyone gets to see this bit, but the super cool features, you have to be a paid sponsor to see it. You don't just get the features, but you get the source too. So that could extend a commercial model that is still based on open source. Oh, you just muted yourself.
Oh, we went from buying all the software, everything being closed, to open source, now to being a soft closed source.
Soft,
model.
yes.
Like
yeah, that's it. Very well put.
Yeah.
Weird.
All right. Now, well, I mean, we're all talking about money, so we might as well go to the next section, right?
All right.
AppSecOps delivered.
I actually don't know who Armor Code are, but they did get a bunch of money. I believe it was 11 million in seed funding. There it is on that there. And there's two things that I love about this for the wrong reasons. One, I'll do the next one. Thanks, NASDAQ, for recognizing, like, as if you didn't pay for that. You paid. Nobody gets a Times Square advert or whatever that is that you didn't pay for. I think that's a bit of nonsense.
Those things are super expensive too.
Yeah. And they're not the first one I've seen have the same photo with their thing on it. So that's obviously something a service you can buy. The other one, which I wrote in our description when I added the links, and you'll see the links in YouTube. What the heck is AppSecOps?
It's DevSecOps, but without the devs, just application.
Just skip the devs, sack them all.
At least they do dev AppSecOps.
We need bigger portmanteaus. Sponsor. Oh, anybody can sponsor it. I don't quite know. AppSecOps platform, application security posture management, ASPM. Is that new too?
ASPM. Yeah, they don't like container. Now we're just talking application because they don't want to be container specific.
Centralizing AppSec findings, SAS, DAS, SE, and more, and prioritize management. Oh, okay. DevSecOps orchestration. Got to have that on there. Where's my bingo card? These people are winning. Mm-hmm. Workflow automation to exceed SLAs. Vulnerability management. Okay. You know what I think this looks like?
What?
It looks like Kenna. You know Kenna security? We missed that one, by the way. We're morons. They were acquired by Cisco. But Kenna was a vulnerability management platform, a little bit like, I think, True North. No, is it True North? Something like that. Zero North. That's it. That consumes static analysis and software composition analysis, and does a little bit of, I think there was even industry threat intelligence around what is actively being exploited, so that it wasn't just a sea of vulnerabilities. You actually got an actionable result. That was what Kenna did. Of course, they were good at it, and they got bought. Nice. So it kind of makes sense. As soon as somebody gets bought that was doing a cool thing, well, boom, start a startup that does that again, because now you can't
Maybe-
have it.
Yeah,
'cause-
and there's probably a competitor that wants to buy something similar. So
right. Yeah, so that's probably a good idea, whatever this is. Although their marketing is a little what?
yeah,
But whatever.
maybe
Cool.
actually request a demo.
Request. Yeah, why not? All right, next one then in the Spendopolis.
Yeah,
Checkpoint. We know what Checkpoint is.
yeah. This is this is yours, right?
Well, it's in here because it came through a Google alert, the cloud security offering with developer first, cloud security developer first. I actually think that was in Bridge Cruise marketing at some point. Those words. I mean, it holds water, but what's interesting is Checkpoint's not really associated with the cloud native kind of space, like CrowdStrike. Like they out of nowhere seems to have come up with something that makes them sound cloud native.
Mm-hmm.
But they bought this company Spectral, who I don't know. Do you ever heard of them?
No.
No, neither have I.
First time.
All right, well, we just zoom in. Spectral's security. This won't surprise you. It's an Israeli startup, only founded in 2020. So
Nice.
there you go. Anybody Israeli watching this, just create any startup. Infrastructure's code scanning, code tampering prevention. That's kind of cool. I don't know how they do that. Secrets, controls, source code leakage detection. That's neat. I wonder how that works.
Source code leakage.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I need somebody to find that for me.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a look. I didn't put the actual, unless it's down here and I can just click through. No, like the Spectral. Spectral? Ding dong. Let's take a quick Checkpoint acquires Spectral, developer first cloud security. Yeah, oh, sure. This is just going to say the exact same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm very
Uncover and monitor public blind spots, supply chain gaps, proprietary code assets. I wonder how it works. It looks interesting. Anyway, I can see why they got acquired. Just interesting they were acquired by Checkpoint.
nice. What was what they get acquired for? Did it say?
It didn't say.
So we'll find out in about a couple months.
Yeah, let's get the news out and then reveal it later on. Yeah, it doesn't say. So I don't know. We'll find it in a couple months and we'll report back. Okie dokie. The only two big spenders.
Yeah, only two big spenders. We have a 9.8 CVE to talk about.
Look out.
Now, what starts with the letter C?
Look out. Here it comes.
Big one.
It's the worst CVE. Oh, wait. No, it's not. Sorry.
Wait, what? What happened?
So you put this in here.
Yes, GitHub.
CV. I saw this. So the CV 2022-0329. The problems with automated vulnerability management. That's a little bit of a tale for you. Come sit around the fire.
Mm-hmm. So this 9.8 CVE doesn't exist?
No, here it is here. Oh, it's gone now. It was a 9.8 when I first looked at this.
Yeah, they just changed it.
This said reassess yesterday. And today we've refreshed and it says reject. Just delete the page. Do not use this candidate number. Rejected. It was incorrectly assigned. References none. It's not real. This guy wrote his gripe fest because GitHub was bombarding everybody with alerts. Actually, you can go to here. This is the discussion. And they're getting like, what? All these people freaking out because pinpointing it because the built-in tools with GitHub were freaking out about it.
Yeah. Basically, a maintainer created a bunch of code, didn't want to push it, had some issues with it. It wasn't necessarily a vulnerability, but when they pushed it, you can flag something as a vulnerability or that it's not up to standard or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what the automated management system looks like. And then GitHub just obviously takes the flag and just reports on it. So
I don't know how it even got a rating.
Yeah.
That's weird, right? But essentially, there's actually if you go way back in time, like to the pre-2010s, there are other CVEs like this before the process was so automated or robust or so easy to reject, right? So there are CVEs out there that you'll go, what? There's a 9.8 from 2007? Yeah, but it's not real. But no one did anything about it. Now it's like, essentially what it was Pickle is a serialization and deserialization library and use it in Python. We use it in Chekhov all the time. But what he pointed out was that if you deserialize anything and there's a malicious function that's designed to call as part of the deserialization process, it's going to execute the malicious code. And what they're saying is like, yeah, that's what deserialization is, jackass. Don't write the malicious code, or don't just deserialize any old thing. It's a built-in part of what it's doing as its purpose. So it's not actually a CVE just because you can write some nasty and get it to run when you run the deserialization part of it. That's what I got out of reading that.
Yeah. Well put. That's pretty much it. And
yeah,
I mean, this is a big issue with, like, let's say you're using a container scanner and it's not rated for maybe a specific base image or things like that. You get all these false flags, right? I mean, this is just, it wastes time for your security team. This is where the money's made in security, right? You want something that's accurate, that tells you what the CVEs you need to focus on. I guarantee you that there was probably some CISO that saw a 9.8 go across their Twitter feed instead of calling up everybody in the organization, right?
Oh, God.
So
yes, not some CISO. All CISOs who got these alerts about a 9.8 right after Log4j, something called Log Guru shows up with a 9.8. Ah! Jump out the window.
So, yeah, getting accurate alerts and knowing what is vulnerable, what isn't, is key. Shocker. That's my hot take.
All right, you got it. You're not going to get a lot of arguments for that one.
No, yeah, I think it's a good. Nobody come back with anything after that. We're going to get into you, Stu, or Steve. Now, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, you know what time it is?
Does everybody know what time it is?
Hey, oh, let me share my screen up then. Again. Dang. I think it'll work like this with this mode. Yeah, so Rancher Desktop 1.0 was released. Actually, I say that, and then I started it up over here, and it was telling me, sorry, you're behind.
Yeah.
Because you downloaded it yesterday. 101 is now available. It's downloaded. So, maybe we could break this whole demo by trying to upgrade. See how easy that is. But nevertheless,
this is a minor patch, so if it breaks anything, that's on them.
Well, we can try it live. So downloaded this. I had Docker Desktop. It's gone from up there. And I was using it, like doing stuff. So I just thought, all right, I'm just going to see what happens if I stick this in place. And there were some cool things, like straight up. It brings up an easy install, goes ding dong, and it's done, right? And then you're like, all right. You got the little computer with the horns up here. It says Kubernetes is running, certainly way smaller menu than what Docker Desktop had. You can see this is preferences. So this, let's call it the desktop, is just the preferences button. You can see Kubernetes context. So it's obviously picking up my personal kubeconfig. So, okay, cool. Now this is dead cluster. So that reminds me that I got to get rid of that. But essentially, Rancher Desktop is there. Cool. What's the difference then? If we go to Kubernetes settings, this similar to Docker Desktop. Okay. You could swing the VM around, and it came originally with 4 GB of memory and 2 CPUs. That was its default. I'll explain why I bumped it up in a moment. What does rock is a choice between whether you're going to run the Moby Docker daemon, which you need, because you don't need. There's 2 options. So let me go back to here. So if you do that, you can see I've done Docker images or image. Which that's really struggles, doesn't it? If I can spell, I did it here. Damn you. Hey, my autocomplete is broken for
the difference between having to use Docker or nerd cuddle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're if you're not using Docker as a container runtime, you're going to want to switch it up.
So the Docker part was good
Mhm.
because I just was looking by default. It wants to use containerd, and I changed it
which
to
makes
Moby.
sense.
And well, when it did containerd, I was like, well, nerd cuddle or nerdctl or whatever we're calling it, right? I don't have that, and installing it involves Lima and a bunch of other junk that for Mac OS that is not native, right?
Interesting.
So I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do that. So I flipped it to here. Now I have done both, and I'll show you what happened. This was cool. Now what bombed was I was curious to see if I could still run a kind cluster because I still had Docker running, and I was like, all right, so I'll do a kind create cluster, and it imploded. Now I don't know if it's still like on my thing here, but it got to the point where it tried to detect if the kubelet was running, and the kubelet never came up. That was why I jacked this up to the bare minimum of what kind actually suggests for CPUs and minimum 6 gigs. So I put it to 4 and 6, and I went back and thought I just didn't have enough in my VM. And still didn't work, still blew up. So I haven't figured out whether I can get kind running in tandem with this cluster. It is there. And as far as I can tell, it better work. There we go. It's instantly obvious because I've got traffic and some of the obvious things that go with Rancher-based clusters there. So it for all intents seems to work. You've got an images page, so you can see what's running. There's one that I stuck in place, and it seems to be super duper easy. There's some logging you can enable. There's this little section here where I saw the tick box for nerdctl. So I thought, okay. So it's already detected. So it's like you can't use it.
Yeah.
So it's already worked out. I have Docker, so it hasn't done anything about it. Same with Helm, same with kubectl, but I didn't have nerdctl. So I was like, okay, all right. So the trouble with the Docker one, otherwise everything in Docker works normally now. Cool. I just can't get kind. The reason I like kind with the other one is because I like to have 2 clusters or more than 2, whereas there's no way to create multi-cluster with this. You just have the one they give you, and there you go. That's your freebie.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to do 2 demos of 2 different clusters or something, then kind is there to save you. And if it doesn't work, then I don't know if I'm going to stay with this.
Yeah, and in the defense, probably for the architecture, it's a developer tool. So if you're running multiple clusters, you're probably like you have kubectl, you probably have some sort of cluster somewhere else. You just switch contexts and go back and forth between the 2, right?
Exactly, except I want 2 desktop clusters, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a GKE and I've got my local, and this is probably a
Kubernetes complexity, something.
This is probably an edge case just because I'm like a developer advocate who might do multiple clusters and multiple demos in like an hour, right? Yep. And that's probably not normal for a developer. So probably okay for like 99.9% of the people. Now, the other thing, what also completely rocks, and I can't stress this enough, is this. Oh, look how many versions.
That's awesome.
Look at this. Down to 116. And this is amazing because also for me, so this is now a winner because there are a lot of vulnerabilities as you go back through Kubernetes that you might want to try and play with for demos to go, oh, wow, well, back in the dark ages in 116.9, you could do this and this. They got rid of that way up here. So I'm really pretty pleased about that. So you've got latest 1.2.3.3, and then you've got your stable there that installs by default. I don't think you can do that with Docker. That's super cool, right?
Very neat.
So anyway, yeah, that rocked. What also I noticed that is if you get rid of Docker Desktop, obviously, and then you install this, if you did have kind clusters running and you did have Docker images and you had stuff that was kind of local, it's gone because it's just not there. So anything I had that was sort of in my local, let's say, repository, just because I built it locally and it was just sitting there. Maybe I should have run a prune. Oh, that's the other thing that's not there. That's for nerdctl is there's no prune, but I'll get to that in 2 seconds.
Okay.
So I hadn't cleaned it out, but it didn't matter anyway. I didn't care about it, but it was gone.
Yep.
All right. So next step, say changing container engines from Docker D to containerd will require a restart of Kubernetes. Yes, I would like that. Now I'm going to switch to containerd. You can see down here, and I've done this already. And that's the end of the show. Come back next week when my Kubernetes is restarted. It was like less than a minute, and it went bip, 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 and suddenly I was on containerd. So for me, that also freaking awesome, because what if you need to debug something for Docker or right? You've got both kind of underlying runtimes available to you to try and flip around and emulate whatever it is you need to do. So cool. I was super impressed with how cool that was. So there you go. It's already restarted Kubernetes. It's already restarting the virtual machine. And then when that says it's done, I'll flip over to images, and you'll see it actually restores all your whatever was running in Kubernetes just is still there.
Just different runtime, different.
It's just just changes the runtime up from under it, and you're back running. There it is. K3s, Kubernetes API server. If I go here, see, it's dead. Boom. We're back up, and there's the only thing I started running is back up and running. And I was like, that I like. It didn't just wipe it out.
Yep. Restarted it.
Yeah, it was really, that's quite clever. So now if I go back here, clear that out. So I should have nerd CTL in place. Let's just do -h. I didn't do that. I didn't install that. So I thought, okay, sweet. And nerd CTL is designed to map to Docker. In fact, I've heard that people do this.
Yeah. The containerd, all the commands basically mirror the Docker commands.
Right. With I think the only exception.
There's a few.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, there's just a few of the libraries that Docker added on, right? Like some of the networking things, I think.
And this is the one I just mentioned because my Docker was a mess, and then it got deleted, so it got auto pruned. But you can run Docker system prune, and it will get rid of all your old crap. But that doesn't exist here. That was one thing. I don't know. I'm sure there's other ones, right? But that's just one of them. But who cares, right? I mean, a developer machine, I never run that. So it was good. So I got nerd CTL images. That should. I don't have any. All right, cool. If I do PS, I don't have anything running. What the? Slightly different, isn't it? I need because I got things on it. Interesting. That's not showing me the containers like the other one did. Yeah, I do find that fascinating. So I'm not getting quite the same behavior, even though it gives me the same command line. You know what I mean? I should be able to see.
Should see all your images.
I should be able to see my images. I don't know why that is. I'm not getting that command wrong, am I? But anyway, so I did find a little bit of a buggy wug, I think. So I'm going to go to C code directory, right? And I'm going to run nerdctl again. Let's do images just so there's nothing there. I don't care if it doesn't work. Ooh, interesting. It didn't work last time. Maybe I added maybe flipping around fixed my problem. So I had an error running nerdctl. And I flipped away and flipped back, and it's like it's fixed. So maybe there's a flaky bug. So what's interesting is if I go whence nerdctl, ls-al, we okay? We see that this is what it meant. It was asking if I had anything there. And if I do, I know this because I've already done it. Oh, what did I do wrong there? Oh, I didn't put in quotes. Because it's using spaces. Thanks, Ranche. We can see what's going on. So it did install Lima, and it's hiding all that from me. So it's actually running like there, like how it has to be there. So it's already kind of, and there's nerdctl there. There's Lima there. There's a Lima CTL. So all the hassle you have to do on a Mac to get nerdctl to run, it's just like abstracts that away for you, creates a symbolic link, makes a fancy script, ding dong, you've got nerdctl, and you've got you got it running. So
Awesome.
I actually thought that was pretty clever because I'd seen NerdCTL talked about in like the KubeCon capture the flag, and I was like, yeah, it looks really cool, but it's a pain in the butt. I don't want to get another VM system running on my system, but it's just going to happen. So I'm guessing they've somehow consolidated the VM you would use for Lima and for K3s, and it's all like packaged now, which is kind of neat.
Mhm.
Finally, if you're wondering what it's doing, there it is there. So that's what it looks like.
Interesting.
See,
Very cool.
sometimes it pops up. Oh, it looks weird on my screen, but it's running 31%, 34%. It's not bad, right? Remember, Docker Desktop would have used to balloon.
Yeah. They did slim it down a bit.
They did.
It's in the last
every
couple of
install. That's true. Every reinstall of Docker Desktop I've had for the past 9 months has been better.
Yeah, and it's partially too because of Macs, right? Like you have to run it in a virtual machine, Docker. So what used to happen is it would just go and carve out 60 gigabits, 100 gigabits of storage for those images because they had to be able to expand and grow and stuff. I remember getting way too deep into this, but yeah, it's got a lot better.
This is all running in a invisible VM as well.
Yes, and that's the thing is Mac itself has worked to slim that down because in order to run the VM, you'd have to go and request a block, right?
Yeah.
For
I
Mac.
see. Yeah.
And you also need to request the memory and all that stuff. And so that conversation, that software has got a lot better. But yeah.
Gotcha. But this is still at a glance, cool. I used to turn Docker off when we did this show because it would decide to be 250% of my CPU and it would just kill the stream or something.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I've been running this since we talked about it yesterday, and it's I forget it's even there. So far, with the exception of I'm determined to get Kind to work. So when I figure that out, I'll explain it on the show what I was doing wrong. But if I get that working, I'm good to go.
Sweet. All right, get it working for next week, version 2.
I'm
just kidding. That's actually perfect timing. We're right on the top of the
awesome.
hour.
Yeah, I like this.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna go download it. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think it feels like a slicker version with more options than what Docker Desktop provided with less bloat.
I think it's more it's a little bit more Kubernetes focused too, right? I think the context thing is awesome. You have multiple clusters in your config. I can switch between my Google clusters, my OpenShift clusters, right? That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and the one thing that's on the PC that isn't on here yet is there's a port forward panel in that. So if you could just pick stuff that's running and go forward that to this port, you don't have to type kubectl port forward anymore, and you can do it like you would with a VM. You can do it through the preferences section.
That's very cool.
It's not in Mac, but it's on PC, so that's pretty cool. Thing to look forward to.
All right, so now I need to run a Windows VM in Mac so that I can run.
Okay, it's that picky because you can't type K port forward pod port.
Hey, I like complexity. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. See you next week.
Nice one. We're done.
Good job, Steve. Got me downloading it. So, hey, Ranche, hire this guy.
Win.
All right.
I'm Steve Jaguar.
Yeah, I'm his co-host, Mike Foster. If you miss anything, check us out on YouTube. All the links down below, and we'll see you next week, same time, with more stuff. Have a good one.